Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Edwin back again for Strictly Comics, and I am here with Adam, aka Comically Flawed. And this is quite a random type of live streaming that I decided to do. I've been wanting to do it for a while, and I found good reason to get back into it. Am I going to do it weekly? No, but I wanted to do it tonight just because I got that bug. The wife is out. Oh, feedback. The wife is out, and I decided to go ahead and take advantage of the time and talk about some stuff. And we are going to talk a little bit about CGC. They made an announcement today that they're going to have some new rate increases. So I can't wait to see what people are going to be talking about this. CGC, CBCS, PGX. What is your preference? But anyways, let me go ahead and introduce our co-host today, Adam. Say hi to everybody, Adam.
What's going on, fellas? Hope everybody's doing well this evening.
Yeah, I think everybody is, but I've been noticing that there's been a lot of buzz today and about the topic at hand. CGC announced a new rate increase starting on June the 1st.
June 17th.
I got June the 1st.
Oh, you're right. Sorry.
June the 1st, 2017. They said that all books that get submitted or get received on that day or after, they are going to be included with this new rate increase. Now, one of the things that I did notice is that the rate increase is not significantly large. You're talking about like $2 to $5 per submission, but I think one of the biggest complaints that people have with CGC is just their turnaround rate is not as fast as it is with CBCS, which I would agree. And just to tack on, more insult to injury or whatever you want to call it, an additional increase in fees on top of all that, it's like, why do that? And a lot of the discussions have been talking about, well, this just gives CBCS, more people driving traffic toward their direction rather than CGC. But what do you think about all this, Adam? What do you got to say, man?
I mean, I think it's expensive enough as it is. I don't really see the need for a rate increase. But especially if you're gonna like have that crazy turnaround time. And I mean, I guess it all depends on why you're getting your slabs and what you're getting them for. If you're getting them for your personal collection, I guess the turnaround time doesn't matter quite as much. But for the people who are getting it to flip, they're going to have to pay, for like a rapid or a fast turnaround or something like that. And I mean, you're just adding that much cost into it that basically is going to drive it up for everybody else. I mean, I'm not a flipper. I don't turn around and sell, but I do buy slab books online. And then, like any other product, I mean, they're going to have to pass that cost on. So it just means more expensive slabs for me to buy.
And I wanted to talk about this because I was actually thinking about getting out of the whole, I'm not going to digress too far, but I was actually thinking about getting out of the whole witnessing thing. And the reason with that, which I think goes along with this, is that it's just not, it's becoming less and less cost effective. Everybody wants to put their hand in the jar and get something from it. And even though this isn't a lot, I do see it as just more out of my pocket. You know what I mean? Unless I need to just raise the prices on stuff that I sell on eBay, Instagram, whatever the case may be. But then that just drives customers away. And I just don't understand it myself. I think that CGC dominating, which I believe is about 85% of the market. I think I've heard some people say it's narrowed out a little bit more between them and CBCS. More like around CGC has about 65% of the market. CBCS might have like around, I don't know, 25, 30, and I guess the rest or whatever's left over going to PGX. But I just find it to be less and less cost effective. You do make some good points, though. You're not really a flipper. I flip, but I also keep stuff for myself. But if you are a flipper, yeah, this is just bad news. And some people are talking about that if CGC does this, then maybe CBCS isn't far behind. Because I do remember that when they announced this membership thing that they did a year ago, where if you wanted to submit, they were actually pushing you to become a member versus just, not being a member and just doing things all soloing on your own and stuff. But CBCS may be not far behind when it comes to a new rate increase.
Yeah, well, I mean, CBCS basically with their membership, they do give you a little bit of a price break. I mean, basically, if you're a member, it cuts, a couple of bucks off, I guess, each of the different tiers. Like a modern goes from, I think, 18 to 16. A 2-day modern's like 40 to 36. So that's like a $4 decrease. I think, let's see. I think the biggest discounts from the Rapid, which is like goes from like a 90 to an 81. But they also usually give you I guess they're different levels. If you buy a bronze membership for 100, you get 2 coupons for 2 2-day moderns. So you're kind of getting the maybe not the full value of your membership back immediately with coupons that you can use, but then also depending on how much you submit, you can make up some of that difference. If you submit a lot of books, I'm sure those couple of bucks on each submission add up to a pretty good discount. In my mind, you talk about the rate increase being right behind for CBCS. It's possible. I would hope that they wouldn't do that. And one of the reasons I say is because, there was this whole snafu last year with the CGC problem cases and allegedly, whatever. But in my opinion, that was CBCS's chance to really close some of the gap. And, this is just another instance where CGC is going to do something that's going to make people unhappy. And it gives, CBCS that more of an opportunity to make up some of the ground or the perceived difference in market share. So, I really think they could take advantage of it if they play their cards right.
Yeah, it's funny because I remember, I don't know if anybody here watches Living Dead Comics. He's now called Arkham City Comics. A couple of years ago, he was kind of jumping on the whole, not that he does like a lot of slabs, but he was making a case for PGX, and that PGX was kind of closing the gap and more people were going to lean towards them versus CGC. Well, PGX had this mishap, if you want to call it, with the whole Ninja Turtle book and among other things, not counting Restoration as a downgrade and among other things. All I got to say is that if CBCS is paying attention to what's going on, I really hope that they don't screw up and just, my concern is just maintaining consistency, being consistent, because you flub this up and CGC goes back to being the dominant because PGX, well, they are the dominant, but PGX tried to do it. And now they're just like, that very few people that I know actually submit books to PGX now. But I just hope that their CBCS is paying attention because be consistent. Don't be like DC. Don't worry about trying to catch up with Marvel, if that makes any sense. But because, people need to have other options. You know what I mean? It's always like the big dog throughout history trying to dominate or buy out the smaller dog just to keep ground with what's going on and trying to monopolize everything. And so I got people in the chat that say the same thing that you and I say. They say that CBCS is not far behind. Speaking of which, shout out to Justin EXILESTATE Comics, William Harris, Herc Collects Comics, Man from Beantown. Thank you so much, guys, for joining us. JJ for real too. Hello, what's up, man? He joined us. I just subscribed to him not too long ago. Great channel. And the Uncanny Kyle Waka.
Prince Kyle Waka.
Maybe you know some of these people, man, because I don't. But
that's the Prince of New Zealand.
Is that where he's at?
Yeah.
Nice. But yeah, man, I don't know. I think that CGC is making a mistake, in my honest opinion. One of the things that you did remind me of is we're getting into con season right now, and people are going to be submitting books, by the hundreds, tens by the hundreds in some cases. And there was a little bit of a discussion in Facebook talking about fast pass, getting, your books fast passed and not getting them fast passed. And I actually did a submission to CBCS February. I didn't do it fast pass. Not that I didn't want to, but I wanted to see what their turnaround rate was not being con season. Also, I think I saved like $85 by not doing a $9-10 fast pass on each of my books. I got my books back in about 6 weeks, not being in con season. Now, fast pass typically takes about 4 weeks, just from my experience. But when I saw that, I was like, wow, I saved $85 and I only had to wait like an extra 2 weeks. I thought that was awesome. I mean, I didn't have to, spend a lot of money, and I didn't have to really worry about getting my books fast. But advice to people, like if you're trying to submit books and you want them back fast, you might want to do the fast pass during the con season. But if I were you and you have patience, I would definitely wait until after con season, and just try to make the whole experience as cost effective as possible, because everybody knows that getting books graded can cost a lot of money.
Yeah, a lot of shipping too. But yeah, I would say basically, in my opinion, if you're getting a book graded that has staying power, that it's a classic book, or it's a something that's well established in the market, just take your time. No need in rushing for it. If you were to be trying to turn something over because it's the new hot thing, or capitalize on a movie or something, or some variant before it comes crashing down, then yeah, maybe fast pass is in your best interest. But like I say, it depends on how many you're submitting. I'm sure $10 a book adds up fast on top of the regular grading cost and shipping and everything else.
Now you've bought, did you submit to CGC or you just purchased CGC books?
I have not submitted to either company yet. I haven't figured out what, or found anything specifically that I want to submit. I have purchased CGC and CBCS. I've got several CBCS slabs, and then I've also got a handful of CGC. With the CGC, I don't have any of the really, really, really old ones, but I've got the standard CGC slab that was, I guess, prevalent for a large number of years. And then I have a couple of the newer slabs, both in that interim period where they went away from the inner well and just the 2 Mylar sleeves. And then also once they corrected that and kept the newer case, but went back to the inner sleeve.
Yeah. And speaking of which, look, I don't want anybody who's watching this video to get me wrong. I'm not just a CBCS guy. I just so happened to get into CBCS almost a year ago. I've been with them for about 9 months or so. It's just, I found them easiest to work with as far as their whole format, submission, customer service was great. I think I asked like 30 questions before I actually signed up and did my first submission. That being said, CGC, in my opinion, my personal opinion, has the best looking cases, hands down, especially now. Like as a matter of fact, I think I won one in a raffle, which I think was my first new CGC slab, and the cases are beautiful, absolutely beautiful. But I just think that when it comes to the two companies, I think that CBCS just for me has just been a good fit for me. Now I know some people, which you and I, Adam, we talked about this off air just before it got on. You got these die-hard CGC guys, and they live and die by CGC. Look, I know grading is subjective, and I'm not saying any company is perfect, but one thing I will say is I've seen more CGC books that have been inaccurate when it comes to their grading than I have with CBCS. Now, you and I were talking about this. We're talking about, what did you say? You said that you think that you prefer to have CBCS a stricter grading company rather than somebody who's not so strict. I think you're on mute, bro.
Yep. Let's try that again. So yeah, so no, I'm definitely partial to CBCS for a couple of reasons. I totally agree with you that the newer CGC slabs are really nice. They went to that clear plastic, which CBCS already had. But CGC went to that clear plastic. It's that nice, heavy, thick construction. I mean, you could beat somebody over the head with one of these things.
Exactly.
But yeah, but a couple of reasons I like CBCS better are, yes, one, the whole issue with the CGC slabs. Not only because of in that interim where they got away from the inner well, not only because of, you know, maybe how it went down in the marketplace and their reaction or whatnot, but also if I'm buying online, if I'm buying on eBay, you know, there were documented cases where those slabs were causing some problems with books. And if I'm looking at scans on eBay, you can kind of try to look for the line in between the book and the edge of the case to verify that it's got the inner well, but you don't always know. And you may end up with a book that you end up having to get re-slabbed. I've got one right here that I still need to crack open. You know, but CBCS, I feel that they're stricter on their grading based on some of the books that I've seen. And for me, I know everybody wants a high number on the slab, and hey, it's a 9.8 or whatever. But I would personally rather have a book. If you take all things being equal, I'd rather have a book that says 9.6 on it, and I know it's a 9.6, and it's accurately graded or even harshly graded, but you know it's at least that high. I'd rather have that than have a book that says 9.8 on the cover, on the case, but it's really a 9.6 or a 9.4. Now, you know, I guess it's that whole one. If you go to sell it, it's whatever it says it is on the case, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But for my personal collection, definitely, I want the higher graded, the higher quality book, even if the number on the case may or may not actually reflect that.
And it's funny you say that because a friend of mine, well, he's not a friend, he's just somebody I know who I work with at my LCS, and he's big time into flipping, and he is like a surgeon. This guy knows what to hunt down, what to get, what to look for, how to talk, all that stuff. He had a Uncanny X-Men 266 first Gambit. And we were just, you know, screwing around talking about slabs and whatnot. And he was like, let me show you something. So he goes and gets it. He hands it to me. It's a CGC 9.8. He said, look at that and tell me if you think that's a 9.8. So I look at it, and there must have been just on the cover 12 ticks.
Mm-hmm.
They were like these indentation, almost like somebody took a butter knife and just made an indentation on all the way down the spine. But they didn't really break color. You know what I mean? And I was looking at that. I was like, you know, I thought that as long as it doesn't break color, it was okay. But then after talking to him, I was like, you know what? I wouldn't feel comfortable grading this as a 9.8. Just looking at all those ticks. So kind of to go back to what you were saying as far as CGC being stricter, I have been noticing that. And after actually doing a lot of conversation with their customer service, they said that they have been getting stricter because they started to just, them and CGC, just, you know, all the books coming in, all the money coming in, the money that they were making, they were just letting a lot of stuff pass. I mean, I'm not going to say who it was, but this guy openly admitted that, you know, that they were just letting a lot of stuff pass. And in about 1,000 book submission, I'm just using that as just a general number, they said people who know grading, within like 1,000 book submission, about 900 of them would come back as 9.8s. He said now about 700 are coming back, and dealers are submitting less, or they're being very cautious before they submit, realizing that greater restricting is happening with CBCS.
Well, because their primary concern is to turn around and sell it. So, you know, they have to worry about what the number on the case says. But no, I mean, and you think about how many books they grade. You know, they only get a very limited amount of time with each book. So, I mean, mistakes are going to happen. I get it. But at the same time, I mean, I don't know how well this is going to show up on camera. But So I've got, this is a CBCS case here that I got not too long ago, and it's Lazarus #1, and it's glare's terrible. I apologize, but
Yeah, it's all good, man.
It's a 9.8, and you can look this book over, and there is not a flaw anywhere. I mean, it's sharp corners everywhere, razor sharp, no spine ticks, no nothing. I mean, it's a beautiful book all the way around. Now, I understand that there's, and this is another beef I have, I guess, with both grading companies, just grading in general, that there's kind of two different scales. Like, not every comic book generation adheres to the same grading scales. Like, they'll let things pass in older books that they wouldn't let pass in modern books. But here's a Iron Man 128 Demon in a Bottle. Now, this is in a newer
It's a nice book.
Yeah, it is a really nice book, and it's they say it's a 9.6, but I mean, and I'm not super grader guy, but
what flaws do you notice on it?
So there in this corner down here, let's see, I don't know if that's going to show up. There's definitely a little like color breaking dog ear on that corner.
I see it.
Yeah, and there's a little bit of a ding on this corner over here. There's not much of one, but it's there. You can see it. You know, there's not really any spine ticks or anything. You know, maybe that dog ear is not enough to bring it down, but
so those are the only kind of defects that's on that book.
Yeah, they are. But you know, the corners just aren't as sharp. The wrap isn't quite as clean as on the other book. You know, maybe it is a solid 9.6. I'm not 100% sure. But when I look at it, and maybe it's just me being too harsh on my grading, but it wasn't. It had a few more flaws on it. That corner, especially, was a little bit more flaw than I would have expected on that 9.6.
Yeah, and you know, it's funny again that you're bringing this up because we didn't really, you know, rehearse or go over any of this stuff before we got on air. But I submitted a Batman Adventures #12 probably about a month ago, maybe 6 weeks ago, and it also had a tiny little dog ear. It was actually bigger than that one, but not by much, and it got a 9.2. It had a couple of other dings to it, but outside of that, it was just like a couple of dings and then the tiny little dog ear, and I got a 9.2. So maybe at least in this case, both grading companies were accurate. That's one of the things I actually need to look up because if you think about it, that little dog ear you got, it's very, very tiny. Now, let's say you take that little tiny crease from the dog ear, put it on the spine. To me, all day with that type of crease, it would be like a 9.4, 9.6. So maybe they got it right, but I definitely see your case. I definitely see what you're saying about that. Let me go over the email that CGC sent. If anybody's watching and you don't know what we're talking about, CGC announced new rates that are going to be starting June the 1st. I'm going to go over some of them. One of the things that they say percentage discounts for paid CGC Collector Society members and authorized dealers remain the same. CGC grading fees and other collectibles, magazines, blah, 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 will also remain the same. There have been no changes to CCS fees. The following changes apply to submissions of comic books received by CGC on or after June the 1st, and they go over those. The handling fee, the paper and PDF forms change to $8 per form. I'm not sure what they were before. I was actually getting ready to start putting submissions to CGC before I got this email. Online form remains $5 per tier, and then they go into what exactly that is. Signature series remains the same, $5 per submission, which I think is the same for CBCS. Grading fees, it says for modern, fee changed to $20 per book. Now, does anybody know what they were prior? I want to say they were like probably, I want to say like 18, because I think that's what CBCS's is, $18 for a modern.
It's 18 for a modern unless you're a member, and then it's 16.
Really?
Yeah.
So it seems like CGC was probably the same. So in that case, that's where you get one of the $2 price hikes. Value fee changed to 27 per book. Do you have a price on that as far as either CGC or CBCS? I want to say it was probably 25.
What's their value? Like, what's the turnaround time on that? Is that like
It says turnaround time changed to 50 business days. So that's like 10 weeks. Minimum submission requirement is removed. So I guess it's a good thing. It says the removal of the 15 book submission requirement makes the value tier a more affordable option for collectors with only one book or collectors who are just learning about CGC's grading service. Now this I like because it seems like when they put that stipulation in place, it was more for like the collector that was like submitting books, getting a lot added to his collection, or for the flipper. And it seems like they just removed this for people that are just getting into it. Basically what they're saying is they're opening the door a little bit for new learners or new people who want to submit books to CGC.
Does that value though, is that got a specific date range that it's allowed in that group, or is that?
It just says 50 business days, which is 10 weeks.
No, but is it like only comics from X date newer, like no Silver Age, no Golden Age, something like that? Like,
yeah, I don't know what that value tier is. I'd have to look that up. I guess I could have got that before the show, but I'm thinking it's probably like a yeah, I think from what I'm looking at is it was for those who would submit more than 15 books or 15 books or more. Meaning you got like a little bit of a discount for submitting. Let me see if there's anybody in the chat got anything to say. Oh, Great Legend Show. He did join. What's up, man? He says he used to be 18 till June 1st. Yep. CBCS will be $4 cheaper for modern tier. Yeah. Yep. CGC came out with the online submission forms. They never had a $5 online form and an $8 PDF form fee. That's effed up. Great Legend says CBCS for life. Okay.
Hey, what's up, Justin?
What's up, fellas?
Justin, glad you joined us, man. Thanks a lot, man.
No problem, no problem. Just got home. I was voice chatting with the chat on the way home. Like all my comments were me just yelling at my phone.
Yeah, we're just I'm just kind of going over. I'm actually gonna go into a different discussion here in a minute, but I want to just go into a little bit of the what CGC sent to everybody today, so that those who do use CGC or are familiar with CGC can compare with what used to be prior to June the 1st. And we're just trying to figure out what all the different grading fees or tiers were. The economy fee changed to $38 per book. Turnaround time changes to 35 business days. So I guess, that kind of speaks for itself. Economy, one of your cheaper tier
for when you're not in a hurry.
Exactly. When you have patience.
Right. Which that would be somebody like me. Like submitting books. If you're just submitting books that are going to be in your collection, you're not going to sell them. You have no desire to ever flip them whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
Who cares? Get the cheapest option,
Preach, brother, preach.
I don't know. But here's my thing. The only thing that I thought about when I heard about this happening, I was like, wow, this is oddly or eerily a coincidence to them coming out with those character-specific dang labels that, in my opinion, are very ugly.
Yeah, dude, don't get me started on those things. So, I got a little. I don't know how many people are familiar with this. I'm sure a lot of them are, but CGC is the same company basically as NGC, who does coin grading. And with coin grading, there's PCGS, which is out in California, I think, and NGC. And if anybody has followed coins or been into it a little bit at all, that whole thing kind of took off like crazy, where it was like everything became like a customized label, and it was, oh, let's offer whatever coin with a special label for this thing or a special label for that thing or whatever. And it got to a point where there were a lot of people who were collecting labels more than they were collecting coins. And and I can see that same kind of thing happening here, where to CGC, it's a gimmick. It's a way for them to charge an extra $5 for a custom label or whatever. But the negative repercussions that it would have on the market, I think, would be a terrible thing.
Right. Well, I mean, you can see that just from, like, I saw all the Walking Dead ones, and that one's so easy. You know that, like, the Rick Grimes one, like, if you have a Walking Dead one with a Rick Grimes label at the top, name your price, But if you got Carl, it may not be worth as much.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I can see that. I just think it's multiple characters in one series. No, if you're gonna do it, you do the main character. You have Batman, Spider-Man, Hulk, and just their pictures. You don't say like, oh, also you can get Mary Jane. What? No,
You talking about those new like the Walking Dead ones that were announced, and like the Stan Lee little picture logo thing to the I mean, it's a cash grab. I mean, if I would have thought about it, I probably would have done the same thing if I had a grading company.
Yeah.
But I was just saying, I don't know if you heard us, but like, how they could charge more. Like I just said, like, you got a Walking Dead 1 graded with a Rick Grimes label versus a Walking Dead 1 with a Carl label.
Yeah, what are those, like $10 extra or something?
Do you get to pick?
I think it started with Stan Lee. It started with Stan Lee, and I think it was like $10 extra to have like a little Stan Lee picture and his little signature in silver, kind of a logo. And then I think I saw Kevin Eastman, the Ninja Turtle one. That was the next one that I saw, and now these Walking Dead ones, which is new to me. But I think they're like $10 extra.
There's two other reasons I'm really not a big fan of that whole deal. Is one, a lot of people, and I don't really care about this quite so much, but I know there are people out there who, they like a kind of a standardized throughout their collection. So, I mean, I don't care, but some people's feathers got ruffled when CBCS or whoever changed their label. Or I know there was some talk about some people don't like the fact there are people out there who feel that restored books shouldn't be in the purple label. They should just say restored on them. Now, I like the fact that it stands out that you can tell a restored book by the label or whatever. But there are people out there who think that they want the labels to look the same, all across the board. And there's something to be said for that. But, in this day and age, too, where anything that can be sold can be faked. And if you've got, I mean, not that this is happening out there yet, but if you've got 147 different labels, at a glance, I may not be able to tell, if people really start pumping fake books out there or whatever, fake slabs, it may be harder to me to tell one that's been doctored or whatever, one that somebody printed out on their printer at home, because I might just say, hey, well, that's just a label I've never seen before. Who knows? But when.
Right. And the hologram, you just grab a hologram off a baseball cap.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, if you want to fake it, it's not hard.
Slab by New Era.
Right. Well, God, what was I going to say? What's his name? Herc Collects Comics says that we should do a YouTube slabbing company. We'd be rich.
Let's do it. I got the garage space. We could start it here.
I don't know, man. Sitting in a room all day grading
1,000
comics, one comic every 3 minutes or whatever. That does not sound like a good way to get paid, in my opinion.
Yeah, you would think like after every like so many books, they say, "All right, now you take a 15-minute break, get your eyes
Well, no, no, no.
readjusted."
If we're to the point where we got to be looking at books every 3 minutes, we're to the point where we've already trained and hired people, and we're just watching them.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. Actually, real quick, Adam, what you were talking about, faking it and cracking them open and stuff like that. I did notice that the new CGC cases are a lot harder to crack. I've seen people do it. They start out from the bottom up, and I've seen them do it with a butter knife, and it's not easy. I mean, now when you compare them to the older ones obviously are much more easier, but those new ones, man, those new slabs, they are pretty hardcore in my opinion.
I've heard the tool to use, and I haven't tried this, although I've got one to that I need to try it on. And unfortunately, the one I need to crack is the one that doesn't have the inner well, which means you need to be even more careful because there's nothing really stopping you from getting in there toward the book, you know, if you make a mistake. But I've heard the tool to use actually as those the little things they give you at like Lowe's or Home Depot to open paint cans.
Oh,
that,
yeah.
like
Yeah.
kind of get under the lip and prime up. Like I've heard that's one of the tools that you can use to crack them open. I haven't actually tried it myself, but you know, I've got some CBCS ones that you would destroy it. Don't get me wrong, but the side isn't completely sealed, you know, so there's a gap. You can kind of peel it apart with your finger. I mean, you could probably run your fingers up there and crack it apart if you really tried hard enough. The plastic wasn't as stiff though, so it has a bit of a give to it on those CBCS ones.
Justin, you have PGX. Are those? Is that PGX pretty sturdy? Is it pretty solid?
Let me feel it compared to like a new.
Yeah, because I've heard that they are.
Companies. Let's see.
Okay, I've heard that they are, that those PGX ones are pretty gangster.
Gangster.
Well, I'll wait for Justin, then I'm gonna continue reading what CGC has to say.
Oh, go ahead. I can get these out of their little sleeve thingies.
Okay, it says CGC is very pleased that operational upgrades and new hires have enabled it to reduce the turnaround time for the economy tier from 40 business days to 35 business days, which is it's a week. It's only a week, but a week, I guess. We will continue to work hard to reduce our turnaround time and make other improvements to our services. So this seems to be like the biggest complaint with CGC is just their turnaround time. I think even their fastest service, which I think is like an express, it's like $100, man. And even then it still takes you like, I think it takes you a week. Well, maybe a week at best to get it, but still in comparing to CBCS, $100 to like maybe $60-65. That's kind of steep.
Well, CBCS has they have a 2-day modern, which is $40 or $36 if you're a member. So I mean that's high, but for a modern book, but whatever, it's a fast turnaround. And then they have a rapid tier, which doesn't have the modern stipulation. It's any year, whereas the 2-day modern's like 1975 to present. The rapid can be any year, and it can be a higher valued book. But it's a 1-week turnaround, and it's $90.
Yeah, so I was right. It was close to $100, and that's what CGC is saying. Their rates, a standard fee change to $65 per book. The express fee changed to $100 per book, which I think it used to be a $90 or $95, somewhere around there. They just evened it out and just said, "Hey, give us a bill." Walkthrough remains 3% of the fair market value. Minimum fee remains at $150. Maximum change to $5,000, which I wonder what it was before. I wonder if it was like 3 or 4. Signature series modern changed to $30 per book. Signature series value fee changed to $32 per book. Turnaround time changed to 50 business days. Minimum submission requirement is removed.
You know, and that brings up another. Oops, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I didn't say that.
Oh, you know what? I was watching the video, not the live stream, and you were behind and you were still talking. You know, I understand that like they have to, they're a business or whatever, but I would like it if they would cut down, both companies, on the number of tiers or options. You know, make it a little more simpler for people to pick. You know, I don't need to like feed a bunch of stuff into the matrix to try to figure out which is the right option sometimes.
I know, right?
Yeah, there should just be grade my book. Click here. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Okay, so what were you asking about the PGX slab?
I had heard the PGXs were pretty tough.
Yeah, like it feels very solid. Whereas I guess this is a newer CGC case. It definitely has, you know, the lip, like the actual border of it is more of a lip, and then the book housing is recessed a little bit on the front. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the PGX is about the same size all the way through.
The quickest way to eyeball those new CGC cases on a whim, just on a
well, I mean, it's a new book, so
yeah. Well, I mean, is where the page quality is. I mean, you can tell at a distance, even if you don't have a high quality scan. You know, where it says white pages or whatever, right there under the number. The old CGC cases don't have that. The old CGC cases are like this. The number's a little bit smaller, and the page quality is like here in text in the middle.
Yeah, good to know. Now we know, fellas.
But the PGX, what about? Is it like really thick? Like, does it got some weight to it? Does it feel heavier than the new CGC case?
The CGC case feels heavy because the border's so thick.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like the border on this CGC is thick. It makes the case heavy. This is equally distributed, you know, all sides. Other than you can see the seals, the seal lines.
Mm-hmm.
You can see those. Those are a little bit more pronounced on the PGX. But this one's pretty. This one actually feels more solid.
Really?
Something about it. But this one's definitely heavier. Just because of the dang border. But I feel like I mean, I'm sure it's, you know, whatever quality plastic, blah blah blah. But I feel like I could break this one easier. I feel like I could break the CGC a lot easier than the PGX.
Really?
Yeah.
Because the new CGCs, man, to me, that, like I said, that's the one thing I do like about them, especially once they went back to the inner well, is they kind of feel like a bank vault. I mean, they're heavy and durable. They just feel thinner where the book is, other than the border. Yeah, that's true. So that's the only part that kind of bothers me. Versus like I just said, the PGX, which is the bloody well same all the way through. Gotcha. Mm. But I mean, realistically, even with the border and everything, they're about the same size. I would say the CGC is a millimeter thicker. You know, like they're really, really close.
Oh yeah, they're almost identical.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure it can happen too.
And the good thing about the PGX, like I've only got one, and it was because this was the only book, you know, Stormwatch #1, the only one for sale graded was a PGX. So I haven't got any others, but I would. I don't know where I was going with that thought. I lost it, but it's okay.
Let me see here. It says I think there's only one or two more things that I need to read. It says, as with the value tier, CGC has removed the 15 book minimum submission requirement from the signature series value tier to make it easier and more affordable for collectors to submit just one book to CGC. It also says signature series economy fee changed to $43 per book, turnaround time changed to 35 business days. I don't know what it was before. It was probably like 40. And it sounds like maybe the turnaround time got a little bit faster. And I think a lot of that probably has to do with because, you know, when you get your book signed, you want it quick. You know what I'm saying? Like, it isn't just the whole flipper mentality, which I wonder if they accommodated those flippers, but also with the fans, you know, like, oh, I got Stan Lee to sign this. I want my book like yesterday. Mm-hmm. So it sounds like that was the reason behind that. It also says, what's up?
You just want all of your collections of like Thor 337 to get slabbed at one time.
Oh man. Thor 337. No comment. It says CGC has matched the faster turnaround time of its economy tier by reducing the turnaround time for signature series economy by 5 business days. So I was right about that. The signature series standard fee changed $70 per book. Signature series express fee changed to $105 per book. So it's just like an extra, seems like extra $5 tacked onto it. And that was it. That was really the gist of everything that CGC emailed to people who are getting emails from them. Just letting people know ahead of time that, hey, and you know what? It's funny that they did it on June 1st, because I think that either May or June, that's really when con season is in full swing. I mean, they know they're going to be getting overloaded with all kinds of submissions. So why not take advantage of it by upping the fees and the prices an extra $2 to $5?
Yeah, it definitely adds up. So I'm sure that they'll make a lot of money off of it. You know, and I understand that the grading times are going to fluctuate, in that they can only hire. I mean, you can't really do like surge season hiring or whatever. You can't. I'm sure with what it takes to train a grader to grade accurately, that you can't really like hire summer help, you know, to help with con season. You
Right.
know, or whatever, and then let them go in the winter
Interns.
or whatever. Yeah, exactly, because then your grading's going to be suffering. Well, maybe that's their problem. I don't know. But so you kind of got to find that happy medium between how many people you can sustain to hire in the off season versus how far behind your turnaround times are going to lag during, you know, peak con season. A lot of people talking about PGX in the
I
chat
see
there.
it. Yeah.
And that I'd asked Beantown. He said that you know, he found that PGX, he found the grading not to be accurate. And I was asking him about this. That one of the things I found, or not found, but I heard a lot, was that PGX really, where they really fluctuated was in the mid grades. Like, you know, if you stayed up in the higher range, then, you know, there's not as many flaws to pick up on to begin with. At least there shouldn't be. So you stand a chance of the grading be a little more accurate, but when you get down in those middle grades where you're adding up the cumulative effect of all the defects, that's where the grades can fluctuate. I mean, like he's saying here, by, you know, 1 to 1.5 points off what they should be. You know, I haven't experienced that in person, but that's kind of the general perception, I think, in the community. Out there when it comes to PGX, especially on those middle grades.
But if you just want a slab book and you ain't got that many dollars, PGX way to go.
True.
$13 shipped is what I got my PGX slab for.
Well, that's cheaper than it costs to slab it.
Exactly.
So,
That's why it's a Stormwatch also.
Whatever, man. I got a Stormwatch poster. Stormwatch is cool. Volume 1, not any of the crap after that.
Let me see here. All right, so that being said, I don't think we're gonna get to the He-Man discussion, but one of the things I would like to get to is the variant age. Now, I watched ETA Nick talk about this a day or so ago. I saw Adam was a part of that chat as he was doing his video. Interesting topic, very interesting. What do you guys think about this whole variant age? Because I think one of the questions that ETA Nick left off on that he didn't get to was, he made a point that there were variants back in the 90s. And I think the best example that he was using was the Jim Lee X-Men #1. You had the 5 different covers. But my point, and when I commented to Nick, my point about that was that they were still selling in the hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of those type of variants. Now, the variants today, they're pretty limited. You're not getting a J. Scott Campbell anymore with like 100,000 copies of that one variant. Like, those are typically really, really limited. So,
right, but back then variants were rare. They happened, but they were like an X-Men #1. X-Men #2 didn't have a whole bunch of variants. Might have had a second print, but they just changed a color. Now every single issue has a variant cover, if not 4.
oh man, almost every book that comes out, it doesn't even have to be a #1.
Right.
I mean,
No, that's
look
what I'm
at
saying.
yeah. It could even look at Venom #6. There's like at least 3 different covers.
Mm-hmm. So I mean, to me, it is a variant age, but it's flooding the market with them.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely, we're in that variant age. It doesn't bother me so much unless you're a completist, I guess, because of exactly what you said, Edwin. That's kind of what I put in ETA Nick's chat the other day. Was a lot of people, they talk about all the variants or whatever, and the bubble, and it's creating a bubble, and it's the '90s all over again. I hear that a lot, and to me, don't get me wrong, it may be a bubble that comes crashing down. I think the movie bubble is a bigger concern than the variant bubble, personally. But to me, the difference, the two aren't really equivalent, because again, in the '90s, you had millions and copies being sold. You got X-Men #1, 8 million copies or whatever. Stuff like that. Every book that Image was putting out was selling, in stupid high numbers. Today, yeah, you may have a lot of variants, but there's still a limited print run. If you look at the sales figures every month or whatever, I think the big books are what, in like the 150s, maybe. You got a lot of books selling in that like 50 to 60 range. So the print runs are still controlled. So while there may be a lot of options for covers out there, there's not the sheer vastness of books that lead to a lot of those 90s books being in dollar bins everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Now I don't know how the collector, the number of collectors matches up then versus now either. Maybe the ratio is the same, but
yeah, I mean, I don't mind variants. I'm just really selective of what variants I buy. I mean, the higher or the lower ratio variants, my shop marks them up to a price where you're just like, never mind. So it just depends. But I mean, like books that I normally get, like Thor, Daredevil, things like that, those variants, I may end up getting because I'm going to get the book anyway, Like, but like, let me think, like Inhumans with any Inhumans with a variant, nah. It's like, I don't even care what it is. I'm not going to look at it. So,
I got to mention this because I agree. Man from Beantown mentioned the most ridiculous stuff is the new Marvel 1 in 1,000 variants.
Wow.
And yeah, and for the Venom 150 that's coming out, there's actually a 1 in 2,000.
My thing though is like, what store? Like, no stores are going to have those.
No regular shop's going to have them, and you got maybe a couple of shops around the country that do enough volume to order something like that. Basically, what you're doing is you're getting people you're getting some of these shops. I've seen them where you can go on there and buy that 1 in 1,000, and they're charging you the price of whatever it costs them to order 1,000 books. And then what they're doing, a lot of them, I don't know specifics, but you're paying whatever it costs to buy 1,000 of them, right? So that you can get the 1 in 1,000, and then they're giving you like 100 copies of the book also, which means that they're taking the other 900. They're not throwing them in the trash. They're turning around and selling those and making profit on those as well.
So it's almost like they're adding an extra. Let's say the book is $3.99. They're adding an extra 25% to their profits.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and then they just got a whole bunch of books to give away on Free Comic Book Day.
Yeah, really.
Or throw in their bins or sell on sales. I mean, I'll give you an
wallpaper their store with.
Yeah, exactly. Build a castle out of paper mache.
Right. Build a character out of paper mache. That'd be cool.
I'll give you a small example. I mean, this is nowhere near the 1 in 1,000. Well, let me preface by saying this. When it comes to variants, in my humble opinion, again, I'm not turning them over. I think it seems like the whole trying to buy variants for flipping them is a losing game, because it's a bit of a crapshoot. Yeah, you're going to hit a home run, but every now and again. But for every home run you hit, you're going to strike out a bunch, and
yeah, you're going to
even out.
for every one Image book that turns out to be worth something, you're going to buy about 15 that are not.
Yes.
Exactly.
Number ones, right?
Yeah. So for me, it's like, I mean, I buy a lot of books because I enjoy them as cover art. So for me, it's like, if you want to buy a variant because you enjoy it and you don't mind paying the premium for it, you know, go for it. To each their own. Everybody's going to collect differently. And it's not my place to say how one person should collect or how another person should collect. But on a smaller scale of the 1 in 1,000, I don't know, we may have talked about this before. You guys seen the Delato cover for Venom 150, which that cover is sick. And I mean, it's just sick. And I had to have it. And it's a 1 in 25. And I paid, let's see, that'll be a $5 book. I paid the cost of basically 10 of them, right?
So it's like $50.
Like $50. And I get 5 copies of the regular book and the variant. So, you know, they're taking those other 5 copies and selling them. But at the same time, I didn't pay for the full 25 copies. So maybe it evens out.
Yeah.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong. I think Nick talked about this. I think he touched on the variant thing a little bit, saying that if you want it to be patient, because it'll probably go down in price, or maybe that was somebody in the chat. I don't remember. Because I'm like you, Adam. Like almost anything Venom, I'd get it. But I'm just starting to get to the point to where it's like, it's a variant, it's a sick cover. I want it, but that's what he talked about, something you need and something you want and stuff like that in his video. And I was like, yeah, I want it, but do I need it? No. Let me just wait a couple months, 2 or 3 months, and it'll probably be like the same price as the regular cover.
Right. That's why there's so many things on my eBay watch list.
Yeah. Or you're going to miss and you're going to end up with a book you didn't buy, and it's the next Delato Spiderman or the Delato X-23 where it's instantly out of reach. But you're just going to have to. I was watching a show it was the 9-2 crew the other day. They did a show, and I think it was Master X Splinter was talking about, like, don't be afraid to miss, because you're going to miss sometimes. You know, you know, you're not. Nobody can. Well, I'm sure there's somebody out there, but people I know, you can't afford everything. You know, and you're going to miss, and just you don't let it bother you. You know.
Yeah. So.
You know, one of the things I did notice though is that the McFarlane Venom #1, the black and white, it's still holding pretty strong. I've seen some of those, like, and it's almost like you have to figure out, because you're right, man. It's such a crapshoot. The variant game is very dangerous. It's something that I stay away from. Like I stay well away from. Occasionally, I'll, you know, put my toe in the water and test it out, but on the, you know, for the most part, I don't even go there. But that Venom #1, that black and white variant, that's still $130 to $170 comic. And that book came out. When did that book come out? Like November or something? The Venom #1, was it November that it came out?
Yeah, because it's only up to 5 or 6 now. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like Thanksgiving weekend when that book came out. But yeah, it's really dangerous. Beantown talks about he really likes Alex Ross, which I see there's a lot of Alex Ross fans out there. I'm not really an Alex Ross fan, but lately I've been noticing people that they got to have any Alex Ross variant that comes out.
Well, you don't even have to go for variants. He does the regular cover for Amazing Spider-Man every month.
Really?
Yep. Those are Amazing Spider-Man A covers are Alex Ross covers.
Yep.
I didn't know that. I don't buy Marvel too much.
I had it on my.
You don't buy modern Marvel.
Touche. Yep. But anyways, you guys got anything else about the whole variant age? Do you think that the variant age is in full swing and that's what we're in right now?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, definitely. I mean, somebody said, and I think it was an ETA Nick's chat the other day, though, or I don't even know where I heard this, but you know, the age you're in, you know, most people, you don't define it yourselves, you know, like back in the Silver Age, they weren't running around calling them Silver Age books, you know.
Right.
That kind of gets defined like after the fact. And me and JLS were talking about, what should we call the 90s? Because I guess technically, you know, you've got, I know there's some discrepancies about where the different quote unquote ages start.
The speculation age.
Yeah. What metal are we going to use for that one?
Yeah, right.
Aluminum.
The tin age.
Yeah. I guess like moderns right now go from like 92 up to now, and that's what 17, 25 years, you know, or more than that.
Yeah.
Math's not a strong suit.
Wow, no, 25 years, you're right.
But we decided that the 90s are going to be the chromium age.
Chromium.
Yeah.
That yeah, I could see that. Chromium.
No, the 90s it would be the extreme age.
All right, Liefeld.
No, but seriously, think about it. Everything I know, but everything was completely done to the extreme. Everybody got extremely new outfits. I mean, like it was.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of modifications.
Like crazy. They were just
Superman was blue.
They were going as far as they could with anything. They were just like, oh, I don't know, what's the craziest idea you got, Bob? All right, let's do that.
Batman had what was it? Azrael became Batman and turned it into like a.
You have Batman turn into a murderer, basically.
Cybernetic, yeah. Wow.
Yeah, I don't know. So when does technically modern start? 92? Is that what you said?
I've heard 92 is what I've heard. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm sure there are people out there will debate this, and you know, so they're blue in the face. But like, you know, what Silver Age is like 6 or 50. What is it? 56 or 55 through like 70 or something like that, and then Bronze is basically 70 up through like somewhere around like 82, 83, 84. And then Copper goes wherever you want to break that other line, 82, 83, 84, up through like, some people will do it on a year, some people will do it on a specific book, up through 92. And then people are calling modern 92 to now.
I just go what I see on eBay. eBay has modern from like 92 till now.
That just seems like a waste to even have the copper if it's only a decade.
Yeah.
Well, the silver is a decade, and so is the golden's, I think, 15.
And I guess there's an atomic age in between.
Well, silver's 20 years, right?
No, I think silver's 15. My bad.
Like 15, like 55, 56 to
56 to 69. Mm-hmm.
Okay, then what happens at 69?
Copper.
Bronze.
So
or bronze, sorry.
Bronze, then copper. Yeah.
So, like, you know,
I think that should be redefined. I don't agree with those years.
Well, I tell you what, take it up with Overstreet and get back to us.
Okay, well, I'll just start my own Wizard magazine and come out with my own rating.
I like it.
You know what I'm saying?
That's what you need to buy. You can probably buy the rights to Wizard on the cheap, maybe, for the magazine. I don't know, and start bringing it back out.
They're still a website. They're a website now.
They partnered with somebody, so I would have to come up with a new name, but it would be the same thing. You know, I mean, that's how they did it back in the day, is they just made crap up. Talk about speculators market. You had people in their basement saying, "Oh, well, Valiant and Image are, you know, giving us free stuff. We'll speculate that their books are going to be worth more than everybody else's."
Mm-hmm.
So. Nice.
Yep.
That's what it was.
All right, guys. We're gonna go ahead and wrap this up. I think we've gone on for about
cut it out.
I don't know how long we've been going on. Cut it out. Let's go with anybody got any final thoughts or shout outs? Adam, what about you, man? Anything?
Yeah, no, just shout out to everybody who showed up in the chat. Some good discussion. I didn't get a chance to chime in the chat quite as much, but you know, read some good stuff in there and enjoyed everybody hanging out. And you know, we talk about which slabs you like, or whether you collect slabs or don't collect slabs, or whether you collect variants or don't collect variants. I mean, collect what you enjoy. Don't let anybody else define how you collect. You know, collect what you enjoy. Don't necessarily hold your collection up to what other people have or don't have. You know, get what you like, enjoy it. That's the whole point. And, you know, just have fun with it.
Well said. Well said. What
about you, Justin? What you got, man?
Same thing. Big thanks, or big shout out to everybody in the chat that showed up. That was really awesome. Shout out to you for having a fun live show on Friday night.
Yeah, thank you for the invite, dude.
Right.
My pleasure.
you know, normal stuff. Check out everybody's channel, and everybody in the chat who's there. Most everybody's got a channel too. So there's great stuff going up. It's always fun to see what everybody picks up on a weekly, bi-weekly basis. And I have a live show Sunday morning. What?
Yeah. So is that going to be a new thing, Sunday mornings?
I think so, man. I like it. Sunday morning comics.
Yeah, it is nice, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Do they even put comics in the Sunday paper anymore?
Yeah.
Is there a Sunday paper anymore? I don't even know.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
There is.
You're filling the void
That's
there.
Right. Otherwise, you only buy the paper when you need to pack up dishes.
Right, or send out books.
Right.
Maybe.
Add some extra padding to a package.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I want to give a shout out to everybody if anybody's still watching out there. Beantown, Comic Commando joined us late. We got J-Rod, NLC Productions. We also had the Great Legend. So we had quite a few people show up. Murphinator showed up a little bit. Good discussion, I think. Also, shout out to Herc Collects Comics. He actually just subscribed to me prior to the chat, which was kind of nice. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. So quite a bit was, discussed, especially about the whole CGC thing. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, Justin. Thank you, Adam, for joining me. I really appreciate it. If anybody's still watching, I will be still doing my live auction May the 7th. And I'm actually thinking about coming back, maybe doing some more live chatting occasionally. So stick around for that. Other than that, as Jesse would say, collect what you like. I say, God bless you guys. Keep God first, but enjoy your comic books. And everybody have a great weekend. And we will see you next time. Bye-bye.
Have a good one.